Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal why actual American Nazis find themselves in Gaza today. And then we take a look at the historical relationship between Zionists and Hitler's Nazis. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Israel is not a nation of any worth. It exists only to murder indigenous peoples of the Middle East, a point made by renowned Israeli historian Avi Shlaim in his new book, which documents the genocidal violence Israel has inflicted on the Palestinian people. He takes a fearless stand against what he calls Zionist fascism, and he does so by arguing that comparisons between Israel and Nazi Germany are now impossible to ignore. He says that when we look at Israel, we see a country addicted to military force, a pugnacious, trigger-happy, ethno-nationalist, racially supremacist state, totally oblivious to international law. And he also said this about Israel embracing fascism and Nazism.
And Israel today has many of the characteristics of fascism. The belief that might is right, the reliance of militarism, unbridled militarism, total indifference to international law, total indifference to world public opinion. This kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated in any other country.
The relationship between Nazis and Zionists is best understood by this cartoon, in which Jewish American lawyer Alan Dershowitz is shown accusing a pro-Palestinian activist of being a Nazi, while at the same time he greets an actual neo-Nazi as a friend and fellow Zionist. In other words, Nazis hate Jews but love the state of Israel, a fondness built on two fundamental premises: that Muslims have replaced Jews as the number one target of European and American white supremacists, and that Israel has become a model for Nazis who wish to repress their own non-white populations. This curious mutual attraction is captured by the words of Richard Spencer, a white supremacist widely regarded an intellectual leader among neo-Nazi groups in the United States. He says Israel is a guiding light for white supremacists who wish to create their own ethno-nationalist states. And he told an Israeli news channel that he equates his fascist Nazi ideology with Zionism.
You're speaking now with a Jewish journalist. Most of our viewers are Jews. How should I feel?
As an Israeli citizen, someone who understands your identity, who has a sense of nationhood and peoplehood and the history and of an experience of the Jewish people, you should respect someone like me who has analogous feelings about whites. I mean, you could say that I am a white Zionist in the sense that I care about my people. I want us to have a secure homeland that's for us and ourselves, just like you want a secure homeland in Israel.
Today, Israel is replicating Nazi starvation tactics in Gaza, constituting a campaign of genocide that has become a source of inspiration for white supremacists around the world, including the United States, where actual Muslim-hating Nazis are being recruited to deliver humanitarian aid to starving Palestinians. I kid you not. Here we have a guy named Johnny Mulford, who belongs to a Crusader-inspired motorcycle club called the Infidels, which was launched by former US soldiers who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. The biker group touts its opposition to Islam and support for Zionism and white supremacism. Its members were recruited by the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to deliver aid from GHF-controlled distribution centers, which is absolutely outrageous, given these Nazis are covered in tattoos widely linked to Christian crusaders who mass-murdered Muslims and Jews in ancient Jerusalem. An historical fact that hasn't stopped Mulford from calling Israel God's chosen nation and therefore demonstrating once again how Nazis hate Jews but love the Zionist state. These are the kind of Zionist-coddling, Muslim-hating Nazis who are being tasked with delivering humanitarian aid down the barrel of a gun to a starving Muslim population. Videos obtained by the Associated Press show American contractors celebrating and encouraging each other to shoot at starving Palestinian civilians as a form of personal amusement.
Armed American security contractors at one of the sites discuss how to disperse Palestinians nearby. I got IDF tank posted on the northwest corner now. I brought him in and talked to him. There's doing a show first. But I told him to hold there. I don't want this to be too aggressive.
At that moment, bursts of gunfire erupt close by, at least 15 shots. The camera's view is obscured by a large dirt mound. The contractor who took the video told AP that he saw other contractors shooting in the direction of Palestinians who had just collected their food and were departing.
An American combat veteran who worked at one of these food distribution centers in Gaza told an Israeli news outlet that he witnessed American neo-Nazis unleashing a horrific level of violence at innocent civilians.
You're a veteran of the United States Army who has been deployed to combat 12 times, 4 different wars. Never in my entire military career have I been a part of, allowed, or bystander to the use of force against unarmed innocent civilians. Ever. And I'm not going to do it now.
His words echoed by a former US Green Beret commando who said that the level of brutality that he witnessed at GHF-controlled aid centers in Gaza exceeds the level of violence he witnessed during multiple combat deployments in Afghanistan.
In my entire career have I never witnessed the level of brutality and use of indiscriminate and unnecessary force against a civilian population, an unarmed, starving population. I've never witnessed that in all of the places I've been deployed to war until I was in Gaza at the hands of the IDF and US contractors.
Doctors Without Borders is demanding the closure of these privately run American Nazi-backed food distribution centers, saying they are nothing more than deliberately set up death traps.
The way the GHF functions is so disorganized, so it seems negligent, intentionally negligent, reckless, that people get injured. And so even, we have stories in our report of children also being shot. We treated an 8-year-old girl with gunshot wounds to the chest and a 5-year-old boy with severe head trauma, both of them injured near these GHF sites. And certainly the GHF is singularly disorganized, reckless, dangerous, and we cannot help but come to the conclusion that these are deliberately set up death traps for those who are starving to survive with a bit of food aid that they can grab hold of.
Israeli soldiers who committed genocide in Gaza told an Israeli newspaper that when they leave Israel and enter Gaza, they feel like God because of the total freedom they enjoy to kill and murder whomever they want and without fear of punishment. Another said, "We felt like Nazis. It looked exactly like we were actual Nazis and that Palestinians are the Jews." The only difference being that whereas many of the horrors committed by Hitler's Nazis were hidden behind fortified walls and far away from the prying eyes of the international media, Israel, by contrast, is transmitting its genocide and mass atrocities live from the killing fields via its soldiers and those they kill. But nobody should be surprised that Israel is behaving like a modern-day Nazi state, given Nazism and Zionism are both racist, ethno-nationalist ideologies that espouse racial or ethnic supremacism. And given Zionists and Nazis share common interests, with Zionists wanting to establish a homeland in the Middle East for European Jews and with Nazis wanting to rid the European continent of its Jewish population. This overlapping goal led to the Havara Agreement, signed between Zionists and the Nazi regime in 1933 to facilitate Jewish immigration to Palestine.
The agreement allowed Jews fleeing Nazi persecution to transfer some of their assets to British-occupied Palestine. They sold their assets in Germany to purchase essential goods manufactured there, which were then shipped to Palestine. For German Jews, the agreement offered, at least for the wealthier ones, a vital escape from an increasingly hostile environment. For Jews in Palestine, it provided cheap immigrant Jewish labor and much-needed recruitment for their local terrorist organizations. The
Havara Agreement was terminated when Hitler launched his final solution, a Holocaust against European Jews in 1941. But this mass extermination of Jews didn't stop Jewish terrorist group, the Stern Gang, from trying to recruit Nazi soldiers to help cleanse Palestine of its indigenous population. The Jewish terrorist group's founder, Avraham Stern famously attempted to forge an alliance with Nazi Germany, believing that a partnership with Hitler could help expel the British and pave the way for a Jewish state in Palestine. These Zionist attempts to collaborate with a regime responsible for the Holocaust represents one of the most disturbing paradoxes in Zionist history.
Prime Minister of Israel. Avraham Stern, founder of what became known as the Stern Gang, an Irgun splinter group, favored joining forces with the Axis powers. First, he courted Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, hoping that if Italy overran the Middle East, Mussolini would be happy to see a Jewish state set up in Palestine. But when Mussolini lost out to the British in North Africa, Stern now turned his attention to Hitler. He thought that if he collaborated with Germany, and Germany won the war, Hitler would expel the British from Palestine, thus enabling Stern to establish a totalitarian Jewish state.
The ties between Zionism and Nazism continue today. Remembering that Vladimir Jabotinsky, the ideological father of Netanyahu's Likud party, was inspired by fascist Italy under Mussolini and fascist Germany under Hitler. Jabotinsky blended Zionism with fascism by advocating nationalism, militarism, and the use of colonial force to dispossess Palestinians the same way Nazis dispossessed the Jews.
The story of the Zionism that rules Israel today begins in 1923, when Vladimir Jabotinsky published his essay, The Iron Wall, a manifesto for the colonization of Palestine. It became the blueprint for the political movement he founded, revisionist Zionism. Jabotinsky believed that trying to end anti-Semitism in Europe was a fool's errand, a dangerous illusion that put Jewish survival at risk. If Jews were to survive, they needed a Jewish state that emulated the European model, a model of colonial dominance.
Jabotinsky's Nazi-inspired Iron Wall lives on today in the form of a 500-mile-long apartheid barrier in the occupied Palestinian West Bank that separates Palestinians from their friends, families, and employment opportunities, while creating segregated areas exclusively for Jews. His iron wall also exists in the form of 65 kilometers of reinforced concrete and steel in Gaza, which keeps 2 million Palestinian genocide survivors locked in a steel death trap. It's for all of these reasons that Zionism has way more in common with Nazism than it does with Judaism. And it also explains why almost the entire global Jewish population rejected Zionism when it first emerged in the 19th century. And it's also why actual followers of the Jewish religion today reject the Zionist ideology.
You make a genocide. You make a Holocaust. Right now, you make a genocide. You murdered thousands of Palestinians. You murdered thousands of men and women. You are not Jewish. You are not Jewish. You are so misinformed. You want to kill the Jews who obey the Torah. You hate the Torah. You hate the Jews who obey.
A point we make regularly on this program is the way in which global politics is now rallying behind the Palestinian liberation cause, with a clear majority of American, Australian, and European voters firmly opposed to the Zionist occupation today. Politics in the United States has changed so much during the past 2 years that expressing public support for Israel in the year 2025 or during the midterm elections next year will constitute a form of political suicide. And I mean even for Republican lawmakers, as illustrated in the way an Israeli lobby-funded congressman was booed by voters during a recent town hall event.
Bring us home, Nancy.
I want to have you address the question that was shouted about the starving children in Gaza.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
It's genocide! You believe in genocide?
I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed in how you represent us.
I don't think you're the right fit for us anymore. You just don't relate to most of the persons anymore, and you got to know when to step down. I think it's time.
One of the long-term goals of the pro-Palestine movement was to make Palestine a wedge issue in American political discourse, an aspiration that has now become an irrefutable reality, which means the total dismantlement of the Israeli occupation is finally within reach. So let's continue tightening the screws until all of Palestine is free. And I mean from the river to the sea, all of it. But that's my time for today. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe to this channel. And we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWerleman. We can't produce, sustain, and grow the show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good morning, good night, wherever you are, and stay blessed.